Hi everybody, welcome to Make Art Monday. It's Jocelyn again. How are you? Today we're going to make a tessellation. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before. I'm going to hold up the word so you can see it. Tessellation. Anyone ever heard of it? Do you see my definition down there? It says a pattern that repeats, no gaps, no overlaps. What do I mean by that? I'm going to explain a little bit more. But I want you to look at the word again, tessellation. The real definition is the process of art of tessellating a surface or the state of being tessellated. That doesn't really help you very much, does it? It also says an arrangement of shapes that are closely fitted together, especially of polygons. So think of squares, diamonds, hexagons, octagons. So especially of polygons in a repeated pattern without gaps or overlapping. So that's kind of like what I said here, right? Tessellation. Pattern that repeats, no gaps, no overlaps. Okay, so what am I talking about? Okay, so here. That's a tessellated pattern. And you see my circle light in it because my iPad is really shiny. So that's a tessellated pattern. They started with a square. And they have, ooh, there's my lights on the ceiling. I'm going to try and hold this so it doesn't get too much reflection. Okay, so that's a tessellated pattern, and they started with a square. There's another tessellated pattern. I think they started with a hexagon there, because how many tips are on there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Yeah. So that's a tessellated pattern that starts with a hexagon. There is a whole bunch of school. Here, I'm gonna hold it real close. I'm gonna try not get my light in there, but there's examples of, you can see kids' schoolwork there, a bunch of tessellated patterns. They all started with squares, which is what I'm gonna show you today. I'm gonna put this picture in the video a little bit better so you guys can see it. But this is what we're going for today. And let me see, I'll give you one more example. This is a horse tessellation, and I'm not sure what shape they started with. I think a square. But this is one of the more difficult tessellations. If you guys want to practice tessellations, you can get to this point, but it's going to take a lot of time. Anyway, that's my last one. Oh, no, I have one more. This one started with a triangle base. We're not going to do a triangle base today. We're going to do a square. So you can see the pattern, tightly fit, no gaps and no overlaps. Tightly fit, no gaps, no overlaps. Same with the kids. All fit together, no gaps, no overlaps. Same with this one. No gaps, no overlaps. All right, so how do we get here? Do we just like cut out a piece like a puzzle? Like how do we do that? I'm gonna show you. So what you need is, you're gonna want some paper that is thick. I have like some cardstock here. If you have, or mom or anybody has something like this laying around, cardstock, you can use this. If you have like a thick piece of well, not super thick, but this kind of a cardboard, you hear it? So if you have something like that, you can use that. You're also going to want some sketch paper around to draw your pattern on. You're going to need some pencils, a pen. Where's my pen? A pen. I have a marker for after. I'm going to draw markers so you guys can see really easy. You won't need a marker for yourself, but I'm going to draw with markers so you can see what I'm doing really easily, because if I hold something up with a pencil line, you guys are going to be like, I can't see it. Okay. Pencils, pens, drawing paper, heavy cardstock. I'm going to use a ruler. You guys are probably going to want to use a ruler at home. This is my paper to draw on. This is my cardstock. I'm going to take my cardstock. It's big. It's 12 inches by 12 inches. I'm going to cut it down half this way and half this way. So I have 4 squares, and all the squares are the same side. Like they're all 6 inches by 6 inches, okay? I'm going to do big today because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. At home, you're probably going to want to cut your square to 4 inches by 4 inches. It'll be a little bit easier to work with, okay? But today I'm going to do, to show you, I'm going to cut this into big squares so you can see what I'm working with, okay? And you can see what I'm doing a little bit easier. You're also going to need some tape, so get yourself Scotch tape or masking tape. It doesn't matter. It's not to be pretty tape. It's just to hold pieces of paper together, okay? So get your supplies And I just want to make sure, yeah, that's everything. So get your supplies, and we're gonna make a tessellation today, okay? Oh, after we make the pattern, you're gonna want to color it in, and I'll show you about that when we're done. But I'm gonna fix the camera so it's down so you can see what I'm doing, and get your stuff all ready, or watch the video all the way through so you see what we're doing, and then you can come back and replay the video and do it again, okay? So I'll see you guys in a minute. Hello everybody. Okay, so you're gonna have your squares, your pencil, your ruler, your scissors, and your tape handy. I would say just watch me do this and then try. I would say doing this with me at the same time is probably gonna be a little bit hard. So again, I'm making mine out of a 6-inch square. Okay, I'm going to draw a grid on this so you can see what I'm doing just a little bit easier. So I'm going to draw the grid on here. I'm going to speed up the video when I do this, but you'll see. Okay, so there's my grid, and I think that's a little bit easier for you guys to see so you can tell what I'm doing. Now, what we're going to do with a tessellation, we started with a square. Some of the other tessellations I showed you, they started with a hexagon, or some of them started with a diamond or a different shape or a triangle, but we're starting with a square because I think this is one of the easier ones to kind of get the idea of what a tessellation is. So what you're going to do is we're going to use this square, and what I mean is we're going to use all of it. We're going to cut it, and we're going to move a piece, and we're going to keep it. We're not going to cut anything and lose it like a puzzle piece, and we're not going to add anything to this square. And the cool thing about this is it's kind of like math. Like, we're not going to lose any surface area. Anybody know what surface area means? So I'm going to just make a very simple pattern so you guys can see what it's going to look like for my tessellation. So I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut a shape out of here. Let me see, I'm just going to draw. And then I'm going to cut this out. Now what I'm going to do is, my line started here and here. So when I cut this piece, I'm going to move it over here, and I'm going to match this part to right here, and I'm going to match this part to right here. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense right now, but you'll get it in 1 second. So hold on and watch. Okay, so I've cut this out. And for a tessellation to work, I'm just going to move this over and slide this over because we need this to be kind of like a puzzle piece. So here, we're going to just slide it straight across. I want you to do the same. I want you to cut out something and slide it straight across, okay? So I'm going to do that. I want to make sure it's just lined up and it's just meeting up, not overlapping. Okay. And now I'm going to do the same from this side, and I'm going to move it to that side. Okay, so let me see. Maybe I'll do that. And because I'm going to just keep the shape. So I'm going to go like this. I got a really weird shape going on over here. Okay, so this is what I cut out, and this is the corner here. So this is going to line up right there. So I'm just going to take this, and I'm going to slide it over here, and I'm going to tape it back on right there. Okay? All right, so the easiest way to do a tessellation is to start with a square, cut a shape out of one side and move it over, and cut a shape out of the other side and move it over. And that's what we just did here. We cut a shape out and slid it over, and then we cut another shape out and slid it over. Okay, so how does this work? Here we go. This is the fun part. So now I'm gonna do this, and I'm just gonna trace it. Ta-da! That doesn't really look like anything, I know. So I'm gonna take this, and because it fits together, see how that fits now? Now I can just line that up. And I'm gonna hold it down carefully, and then I'm gonna trace. Ta-da! And I'm gonna go back here and trace this one. I know my shape isn't really that interesting. I know you're all probably like, what is that supposed to be? The thing is, it's not really supposed to be anything. I'm just gonna make sure I get all my lines here so I have a pattern. Now, because remember, I used a really, really big square, so my pattern is kind of big. But I wanted to show you with big, so that it was easier for you to see. And that's it. That's my pattern. And now what I would do with this is I would go get some colored pencils and color this. So I can prove to you I have a tessellation. Here we go. But there, that's my super fast tessellation. I know, it's not the best. Let's make another one. Okay, I'm gonna cut some paper into 4x4 squares and we're gonna make some other ones, all right? Okay, so now that I have my 4x4 square, I hope that you guys are gonna remember. I'm not gonna draw the grid. If you wanna draw the grid, you can. I just want you to remember that whatever you cut out of one side, you're gonna move to the other side. And then whatever you cut out of this side, you're gonna move to the opposite side. That's what you need to focus on and remember for the tessellation to work properly, okay? So I'm just gonna go ahead and draw a shape on here and then move it to the other side. And I'm gonna kind of eyeball it. If you guys wanna draw the grid, like if you wanna draw even just marks, like every inch, so you can kind of see where everything is. So you have a little bit of a landmark, but I'm just drawing the inch lines in here. It just helps you when you move stuff to remember where everything is, okay? I'll just give myself a middle line too. Midway and midway. There we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna, let me see. And then I'm just gonna, ooh, I kind of dented that a little bit. I'm just gonna move it across. All right, where did I put my tape down? So here we are. Okay, and then I'm gonna cut one out of one side and move it to the other side. Here we go. I didn't even draw that. I just cut it out. All right, I'm just going to bump that up here and tape it down. So remember, I cut it from here, and I'm just going to put it over on the other side of the square. And because I have my lines on there, I know where I'm lining it up. Okay? Let's see. Let's see what this one looks like. So I didn't overlap my edges. Do you see where I have my edges? They're not overlapped or anything, but they're there, okay? And then you can see where I cut a piece and moved it, and cut a piece and moved it. And that's how you get the magic of tessellation. All right, so here I'm going to trace this one and show you. This one will work out better because it's a smaller square that we started with. Now, you don't, I kind of like line mine up, but you don't have to. You can turn it this way if you want. You can skew it, which makes for an interesting pattern. But if you want your pattern to go straight across the paper, you can, or straight this way. You can arrange it however you want. I think I'm going to skew it just for something. And I always like to put one in the middle. This one will fit two, so you could put one here and put one here. So, but sometimes I think it looks best to start with one in the middle. And we're good to go. So I'll just fit the piece in here where it fits. So I already have this line right here. And I'm just going to trace the rest. And then this. And then I'll slide it this way and fit the piece in. And I'll draw this. So I'm off the paper, but that's okay. Just trace your line onto the paper. There you go. All right, now we're going to go this way. Whoops, I slid the table. So remember we started with a square, so the cool thing about tessellations is if you connected all the corners, you'd still have a square. What do you mean? Well, if you took this corner, this corner, this corner, and this corner, and drew the lines in, you'd still have your square in there. Do you see it? I think this is good. Yep, nothing to trace there, nothing to trace there. So I'm going to get this one down. And then I only have this line and this line. And I think that's everything. Yeah, there's nothing else there and nothing else there. So that's done. So what does this look like? Let's color it in. So you can color every shape a different color if you want, or you can make a pattern with 2 colors, 3 colors, 4 colors. I'm just coloring really, really fast. I know you guys are going to want to do a much better job coloring, right? Okay, So there's our tessellation pattern. So I'm going to outline it with black just because it looks cool when you do that. This would probably look really cool in colored pencil or marker, but that's my tessellated pattern. Does it look like anything to you? Oh, I wonder what that looks like. Maybe I can add what does that look like? Does that look like anything? So there you go. I wanted to show you tessellations starting with a square are something that are really easy to do. So I hope you like this, and I hope you make a bunch of tessellations. You can make them with 4-inch squares. This is what this was. You can make them with, this one was 6-inch square, but it takes up a lot of paper, and you don't get a really good pattern out of that because it's so, unless you have a really big piece of paper. The smaller the square you get, the cooler the pattern looks. It gets really, really small and focused and repetitive. One thing that you can do, colored, like I said, colored pencils are great with this, and markers, if you want to paint them in, that looks really pretty too. Crayon is kind of ruddy, you know, like it's rough, but I was doing it really, really fast, and I was doing it in my craft table, which is rough, and but if you do it really, really well, because I did this super fast, it looks much better, and I know you guys will take much more care to do your pattern, but I just added this because I don't know. I thought it maybe looked like a bird or a fish, so I was going to add an eyeball, but anyhow, that's a pattern. That's called a tessellation, and there is no overlaps and no gaps in between, and that's the definition of a tessellation. So I hope you had fun, and I hope you'll make one and share it with me.